Hello everybody, afternoon. Sorry I'm a bit late today. Been fiddling with stuff. The EA, not anything else. Just been doing stuff. Just got caught up in something, so sorry about that. A little bit late. Right, rubbish morning. Not particularly exciting today, is it? So just looking at Euro Swiss here on the screen as an example. We are stuck within the Asian range. Just down at the Asian range at the moment. So yeah, blur. What a bit of a slow day today, but you expect that. It's bank holiday in America, and the market just tends to go into kind of rotational days. So we'll have a quick flick through, see if we can spot anything, and we'll see what happens with the New York Open at 2:30. But probably be quite a short one today because I don't think we're going to get much movement, unfortunately. For those of you that were here this morning, I've got a little little counter here, which basically just shows you the countdown to a candle close we were talking about this morning. So it shows you how long you've got until each individual candle closes. It's quite nice to have. So I've stuck one of those on the chart. Might as well. Why not? Haven't had one on there for a while. I like to jivvy my charts up every now and again. So Euro Swiss coming down nicely. I'm in profit on that one. I haven't managed to bank anything else today, obviously. It's still on 0.39%, that one US dollar yen that I had this morning. But yeah, Euro Swissy is turning over fairly nicely. Whether we get any more movement today, difficult to tell. We've only got the afternoon session for London, really, and the beginning of the New York session. There will be some movement, but probably not a lot. So Euro Swiss, I got into Aussie dollar CAD long this morning. Obviously hasn't gone anywhere yet. So just taking the one position long on the reversal alert. But yeah, obviously, as you can see, we're stuck in the Asian range. S&P and NAS had a little push up, pulling back in the Asian range. Same thing. So yeah, rubbish. ADRs, flat. Nothing's hit. Nothing's gone anywhere. CAD Swiss got very, very close. Look. To ADR. Just touched off the top of ADR there. But if you see, this was obviously a Monday. We had a gap down. But it was a good hour into the Asian session before we put that low in. So you could class that as an ADR, but it's not quite hit ADR anyway. So, but that's about the closest thing we've had this morning to ADR. So yeah, dead, unfortunately. Like watching paint dry, as Darmond just said. Yeah, it's like this. Bank holidays. So yeah, we'll flick through the dashboards, have a look at where we are and what we've got, but it's probably not going to be massively different to where we were this morning. Some of the ADR, the RSIs rather, that we had this morning have dropped off. As prices obviously just consolidated. So the only thing we've got lit up at the moment from an extension point of view is the Aussie dollar CAD, which I've just got into. So that's literally our only opportunity at the moment. On the hourlies, nothing, because we've not had any movement. So everything we had lit up this morning on the hourlies, which wasn't a lot, is not there anymore. So really, really flat session. Unfortunately, but we'll flick through everything. Aussie dollar CAD obviously sees sideways. You can see on my chart, if you're new into the room, this is the Asian session here, which is these dashed lines, and that's the middle of the Asian session, which is kind of this green box. London session is this one, and blue is the New York session, which obviously hasn't started yet. I put my New York session as the New York Open, i.e. stock market open, rather than the typical Forex open. That's where the moves tends to start. So yeah, Aussie dollar CAD, obviously we're still within range. Aussie dollar Swiss, we poked our head above, so nice little liquidity run on the Asian highs and drop. That's coming down now. We're still in the Asian range though. Aussie dollar yen, popped our head up, popped back down again, so we tapped straight up into this gap. This one here, which was the start of this down move, popped up into there. Sellers stepped in, 3-bar reversal alert, retest, but we haven't really gone anywhere. So it moved. Aussie New Zealand, again, same thing. Tapped our head above the Asian highs and started to come down to the lows. Aussie dollar, US dollar, same thing. So all the Aussies basically had a tiny little push, but didn't get anywhere. CAD pushed out the highs, again, falling back inside the Asian range now. CAD yen, same thing. We are holding above the Asian highs on the CAD yen, and if you look at the Swissy yen, so looks like we got a little bit of a yen weakness at the moment, but nothing to write home about, is it? Euro odd, still in the range. Euro CAD, that one has had a little bit of movement. Euro CAD to the downside. We've managed to crack yesterday's low there. We're pushing on down potentially into this gap and down to these lows. So, but as you can see, buyers are stepping in. So, not sure whether we're going to get any further movement on that. This afternoon at 3:30, we've got the Canadian Business Outlook survey. That's the only news we've got this afternoon, and it doesn't tend to really do an awful lot. It's just a survey, so again, unlikely we're going to get massive movement on the CAD. Euro Swiss, haven't got out the Asian range yet. Euro Pound, just about got out the Asian range, but as you can see, we're literally sideways. Euro New Zealand, same thing, Asian range. Euro Yen, that one has still, like you see here, this is the top half of the Asian range. Like all the other yens, have had a little bit of a push up. The euro obviously being weak hasn't managed to even get out of there. But so yeah, same story everywhere. Euro US dollar hit the Asian lows, just stop hunted these lows, run into this gap here. Pound odd managed to break down. So looking at the pounds, they've all had a bit of a move down, as you can see, but again, nothing dramatic. Pound yen, same thing. Pound US. New Zealanders, nowhere. Asian range. So yeah, felt like a stuck record at the moment. But this is what I was expecting to happen today anyway. As I said, it's bank holiday. US dollar, we've had a little bit of movement up and down, but nothing. So all flat, as you can see. US dollar index still within the Asian range. So yeah, nothing really happening, unfortunately, there. So I think this afternoon is going to be a kind of wait and see type session, but unless the London banks decide to have a push this afternoon, because they won't have much pushing back against them, we might see some movement. Other than that, obviously New York's not really going to be able to step in and do an awful lot. Although the market is opening this afternoon, it's going to be very, very light trading, and it is only for half a session, so there's not much point in really doing half a session most of the time. So we will see, but we got 20 odd minutes to the open. Has anybody got anything they want to look at from an analysis perspective, indicators they want to talk about, look at? Got any questions on anything? Anybody want a lesson on anything? Because I haven't really got a lot to cover, and I've got 15 minutes to kill until the bell. So if there's anything you want to talk about, feel free. But I haven't really got anything planned because there's not a lot happening. I've got another EA I'm working on at the moment, which I can run through with you if nobody's got anything else they want to particularly discuss in detail. But apart from that, it's a bit dull. I haven't got tick data on here, have I? That's a point. No. Let me see if I can just load. I just want to quickly see if I can load in a bit more data for the S&P. Way to load in data, if you don't know, is to go onto your chart and keep hitting the home button, as I'm doing at the minute, and it will basically scroll back in time. So if you load up your broker and you haven't got a lot of data in there, easiest way to get your broker's data down is to keep hitting the home button, and every time you hit it, it loads in a load more data. So as you can see, I'm getting back to May, April. I only had data in here going back to December for the S&P. And you can also do it on higher time frames as well. So if you come up onto higher time frames and hit the button, same sort of thing. tends to happen. Go back in time. Back to 2017 now. Let's load a bit more in on M5 as well. Looking at the pullbacks in NAS and S&P, looking for where the next entries may be. Yeah, we're going to have a look at those in a sec. Right, there we go. Loaded some data in anyway. So yeah, S&P, difficult. So I think we've probably done the pullback on Friday. So we had this W form and retest of the market structure break. If we're going to pull back today, I would probably not want to go much lower than the Asian lows. So if we come down, if the open comes down to here, look for some bullish price action below the Asian low is really what I would be looking for today, assuming of course we are going to go higher now. I think this move is the pullback, and we're now starting market structure move higher. But yeah, it's somewhere around the lows I would pull back to. But if you look at lower time frames, I mean, you're not really going to find much to pull back to today because we haven't gone anywhere. So that would be that's the W pattern there. We didn't actually get the new high on Friday, and we haven't had the new high today either yet. So I've got a feeling if we are going to get movement today, we're literally just going to do a straight away run today. But I don't know. I'm kind of expecting the bell to go and it to kind of do that. And just sort of sit there for 15 minutes, kind of whipsawing. But we'll see. Okay, so no one got anything else to look at? No. Okay. So I'm working on an EA at the minute, which I'm wanting to kind of automate my entries with. Obviously, the market reversal alerts EA I'm using at the moment, which is working well on the S&P and the NAS. So I'm using that on M15 and on M5, depending on how aggressive I'm feeling. And when we're getting pullbacks, I'm getting it to position in for me. So I'm also working on a version basically it's a brand new EA, but I'm just testing at the moment to build an EA based on gaps. Yeah, so pullbacks into here. So basically that's what I'm working on at the minute, just to see what the success rate is on that type of strategy. Isn't it Martin Luther King Day today? Yes, it is. Yeah. Yeah, which is why we're not going to get a lot of movement. And that's why obviously it's been quiet in London as well. London takes, it's the same with New York tends to take London off if we have bank holidays over here, and London tends to take New York bank holidays off as well, because there's not an awful lot of trading. The banks basically all pass between each other. So obviously every bank has got bankers in each session in each part of the world. So you'll have Tokyo opening, yeah, and as we know, the Asian session tends to be range bound. Yeah, so they'll accumulate positions in the Asian session, pass it over to London, and then London will manipulate price based on the book as to whether or not they need to go long or short to make a profit. So they'll say manipulate it up high, bring it back a bit, pull it up, maybe do a bit of consolidation. They will then pass over to New York, and New York will either, depending on the book and the accumulation, will either then drive it higher or they will pull it back, depending on whether they want to make a profit. But this is Barclays, for example, or Citibank, whoever. This is the desk at Barclays Tokyo, passing to the desk at Barclays London, passing to the desk at Barclays New York, passing back to Tokyo, and the cycle continues. Yeah. So if New York's on holiday, London has got no one to pass their book on to, goes back to Tokyo. Not really a lot of point. So London tends to not trade. That's a typical bank holiday, unfortunately. Or what you tend to get is, and we quite often see this with Asian bank holidays, is London and New York take the absolute mickey and manipulate the yen to hell. So you tend to get massive movement on Asian pairs during London and New York if you've got a bank holiday in the Asian session, because there's light liquidity. So, but you can never tell until it starts, and today's obviously one of those rubbish ones. So, yeah, so I went off a bit of a tangent there, but yeah. So what I was working on was the gaps. So I've built a quick EA. I say quick EA. I never build a quick EA because I go into massive detail, as you know. I called it Secret Squirrel for the moment because it's just in testing at the minute. But basically all it does is it takes trades on pullbacks. So it's designed basically to take pullback trades into gaps and basically build positions long on the S&P 500. That's its job basically. Is that in the right mode? Doesn't seem to be trading, does it? What happened there? Start. What? It was working a minute ago. Ah, that's a different version. Right, okay. Scrap that. Yeah, it's taking much too big lot sizing for this account size. Yeah, sorry. I was testing it on my other MT4. Have I got settings for that in there? Let me just try that one second, just see if it takes the right lot sizing. I'm not sure if I've got the... Oh yeah, you know, I can do it. There we go. Yeah. So yeah, so basically what it's doing, all the EA is doing basically is every time we get a gap of a certain size, and you can delineate the size by ATR, it basically takes a trade at the gap high and low, and then gets out with a particular profit target. So all it's doing really is assuming that the buyers here, when we pull back, are going to step in and push price higher, and it's scalping. So it's not going for big plays or anything silly like that. It's just looking for sort of 10 pips, as you can see. We're up to what, 16 grand. This is a 10k account. It was 10k, yeah. So all it's doing is it's looking for 10 pips scalps on the S&P, really, and just banking small amounts of money as price generally pushes up. So it's trading baskets. I'm working on at the moment drawdown control situations for it as well, just to make sure that it's keeping on top of drawdown. But it's pretty good. 64% drawdown. See, we need to put some filters in basically to control the drawdown on it. But yeah, it works really, really, really nicely. I don't know what period of time that was. So I normally test on tick data on my other account, on my other PC. So it's at March 21 so that's 8 months, isn't it? 10 months. 10 months, 8 grand. So 80% return, probably about 100% return a year. But need to work on the drawdown a little bit. Obviously, that's on M15 as well. So if we go up higher time frames, you're going to get less positions taken, I would assume. Haven't tested it on any higher time frames yet. As I say, it's still in development. But so yeah, I'll let you know how this goes. But I'm just basically built this EA to give me a bit more statistical analysis on the gaps for the S&P. And size, more importantly, the reason I've built this is to test size of gap, because a lot of the little gaps tend to get smashed through. So you can see here, small gaps tend to just get pummeled, basically, because they are small propulsion moves. Therefore, there's not a massive amount of buying there. Whereas here, with a big amount of buying, see this massive gap here, price got pushed out of that multiple times before it finally broke it. So the bigger gaps like this one tend to get respected much better than smaller gaps. So the reason I've built this is to test gap sizing, to see see if there's a sweet spot, basically, where we can optimize the indicator for different sizes of gaps. So I've got 5 minutes to the open. So see what this does on the hourly, just out of interest. How far are we going back on the hourly? Ooh, but way back. Look, 2017. So September 17 start. Feel free to let me know if you want me to fill with anything else. Just waiting for the opening bell, basically, and half expecting to go, yeah, it's not working. I guess the US 30 is also going to be slow today. Yeah, everything will be slow today, US-wise. Ooh, blowout, look. Yeah, so doesn't work as well on the higher time frames because it needs to be adjusted for larger gap sizing, basically. So I've got it working at the moment by ATR. So needs adjusting. But M15 on lower time frames, obviously because it's quicker, you're going to get more of that chop. Just obviously taking long positions. It does really, really well on the S&P. I've tested it over 7 years. And it's done a very, very, very nice return over seven years. And I've done some out of sample testing as well, although I haven't optimized it yet. So, but I'll let you know how that gets on. But I was just curious to know what effect gap sizing has, and I've got the EA running on my other machine in optimization mode just to find out where the sweet spot is, if we can find it with these gaps for the S&P strategy. But anyway, that's what I'm working on. And that's why I was a little bit late this morning, because I was in the middle of just trying to code in something. And when you're coding, if you're halfway through something that you've been working on, and you suddenly drop it and you come back to it, you can never find out where you got to, and you have to start again. So I just wanted to get that horrible bit I was doing done. So right, so let's have a look at where we are at the moment then with the S&P. So pulling back at the minute in the Asian range still. We've got this little area of buying pressure here, which in the London session is what we use to push higher. We're just coming back and tapping into that right now. So we'll see if New York wants to hold this level along with London, and obviously see if we get any movement. So it might be a horrible, complete flat session today. So long-term wise, as I said this morning, we are respecting the 72 as we usually do. So we've pulled back into there, had this beautiful hammer put in last week, and we played the push up from there. Pulled back on Thursday. Friday, we had a nice hammer put in again. So today's move, I was expecting a pullback and push, if we're going to get movement, that is. So at the moment, all we're doing is pulling back. So it wouldn't surprise me if we literally just pull back to Friday's close today and just sat somewhere around there waiting for tomorrow. And then obviously tomorrow pushing up. NAS, same thing. Obviously the NAS has pulled down deeper. We had the big hammer put in, pushed up, pulled back, new hammer, and today expecting the same thing, pull back and push. If we do get momentum, pushing to the upside, ideally pushing a little bit more into this candle from Thursday last week. But as I say, it's all going to be dependent on momentum. So let's drop down to M5 and see how we start off. Open the S&P as well. So we've got 1 minute to go until the open, or 20 seconds. Bear in mind this is a delayed stream as well, so probably be about 30 seconds in by the time you see it. Today I'm going to try and bank some Euro Swiss if I can. If we get any more push down on that today, I'm going to get rid of some of that and then I can add on again. Okay, the market's open. This is that area on the in London where we pushed out. So if we get pulled back down into here, we might find some pressure. Let's see. Okay, some decent buying coming in at the open. No movement on the Dixie whatsoever. God, look at that. The timer's not even updating because it's not ticking. There we go. 3:27. Yeah, so nothing's happening in the Forex land. Dow's got a bit more selling pressure to try and crack through. But we have got earnings coming out, obviously. So, you know, the market doesn't stop just because it's a bank holiday. There are earnings being released. So it might be a case of we do get a little bit of movement off the earnings today. So you can see what earnings we've got today. Oh, we haven't got any today, actually. So yeah, nothing today. It's Goldman tomorrow. It's loads this week. Netflix, main one on Thursday. Next week is the big week. We'll have a really good, busy week next week. But yeah, there's no earnings today, so yeah, we might not get anything today. It might just be dull. Okay, Naz is trying to push. Getting rejected though at the open. This might be the start of the whipsaw. As I say, quite often on days like this, we'll get just choppy movements up and down, and nothing much else. Okay, so decent move down on the NAS. S&P hasn't followed yet. So this area here is support and resistance. So see if we get any reaction back down there. If we get down there, obviously it's got to sell off first. What's my background? Coding. Yeah. Web, basically. My background is actually in sales, but I went travelling for a year and came back and thought I don't want to do any sales anymore. So I taught myself to code and became a programmer. Teach yourself anything on the internet. Okay, so we tap down into that support resistance. Oops, sorry. No, we haven't quite got to it yet, actually. But we've tapped into that by area there. Nice rejection out of that. S&P really holding up well, considering the NAS is trying to push down. So obviously tech stocks have opened a little bit weaker than the rest of the market. Bit of a different open to what we saw on Friday, isn't it? It's Friday's open. And here's today. It's not going to be a good session. S&P's holding up really well. You can see the liquidity, look. Yeah, gap down. So this is the high liquidity part of the day, high volume part of the day. We've gapped down. There's just no liquidity in the market. We've managed to actually put a gap in. There's one there as well. Look. It's just not good trading conditions today at the moment. Okay, NAS is rejected very nicely. So looking bullish. So we are either going to get a nice push today, as I was hoping and expecting, pushing up into this candle. So this wick here from Wednesday last week. Where are we? Friday, Thursday, Wednesday. Yeah. So somewhere up there. So anywhere around that level today would be a really nice move, considering obviously it's a bank holiday. But if we can just close kind of around about where we opened or where we closed on Friday, I think that's probably all we can expect today, really. But fairly decent movement on the S&P to start the day off from New York. But yeah, looking bullish. So I'll be looking for longs. I'm already long, obviously. But if you do want to try and trade this afternoon, although I probably wouldn't recommend it. Probably looking more longs and shorts. Potentially trying to put a reversal alert in IM5 on NAS. And S&P. Wow. What a 15-minute opening range candle that is. There's Fridays. Look, I've still got Fridays marked. And that's us today. So I'll give it until 1:45, another 5 or 6 minutes. But if we're not putting anything in the first 15 minutes, it's unlikely we are. If you've got a futures platform, you'll be able to see the volume at the moment. Obviously, volume doesn't mean anything in here, but yeah, you see the volume. Look, you can see the typical volume. So this is typical London, New York volume. London volume up to New York volume. This is today's New York volume. There is none. So just there's nothing happening. Dull. So if I was you, I would use this afternoon for something else, anything else, because it's unlikely we're going to get enough movement to make any money this afternoon. London obviously is still open for another 3 hours, so we will get movement, but we're not going to get any volume injection into these this afternoon. So unlikely to get anywhere. There's nothing else set up at all on the RSIs. There's nothing set up M5. There's nothing set up on ADRs. So it's kind of a take the afternoon off session today. But obviously bias is obviously still going to be long on these if we do get any movement. So Euro Swiss. So my plan on the Euro Swiss is if we do get a pull down below the lows today, I'm just above break even on these. So I've got these two positions on there, those two positions on there. Overall, looking for this just to continue to the downside at some point. Obviously, this is the pullback to the 72 in the trend. So I'm just looking for this to push back down and retest the lows at some point, or at least retest the reversal alert, which is there. So we've still got a bit more distance down on it. But if we do get some movement down on this, I might bank some of this afternoon. So if we can get a pullback down maybe to ADR or round about ADR, which is around about this support level, that's where I'll probably look to take one or two of these off, and then obviously add again if we do pull back. I just want to try and get something in the bank today because I've only banked 0.5%. Well, 0.4. But yeah, that's really all I've got available today because I've got nothing else on. So, oh look, NAS, it's coming down a little bit. Yeah, S&P is really holding up well. We had this the other day. Week before last, we had a big down day on the NAS. I'm saying big down day. It was a decent, strong move down, and the S&P basically just kind of sat where it was, and the S&P kind of put in a bit of a hammer, and the NAS was right down. So you never know. We have actually got a little bit of movement coming in. So pullback wise. Obviously, based on the London session, these are the sort of buying areas which we're tapping into now. So if we are going to get a little bit of a movement, but more than likely, see these two candles in M5. Oh, wrong one. More than likely, this is what you're going to see today. Wicks like that. So they're just chopping the market up and down, up and down. Everybody that's trying to trade it is going to be like shorting it, putting stops, and they're just going to start hoovering positions. So just under 50 seconds. 50 seconds left on this candle. See if this one closes in the middle. Just out of interest, anybody seen the new Matrix film yet? Any Matrix fans out there? Old trilogy, not, well, Yeah. So anybody seen the old matrix? Anybody seen the new one? Interested in opinions? Just while we're waiting for this candle to close. Okay, so did put in a bit of a down move there. In the grand scheme of things, though, it's just basically London volume still. So not yet, no spoilers. Yeah, okay. I won't give you any spoilers then. I was a bit disappointed, to be honest, but I think you can tell that anyway by the reviews. Yeah, Laurie loved the first ones, heard awful reviews about the new one. Yeah, should have stopped at 3. I totally agree. Got really excited and really hyped, but yeah, not what I was expecting. But still, it's the Matrix. Still quite cool, but anyway, I won't ruin it if you haven't watched it. Okay, so have pulled back down into support resistance. So this area, whoops, here, it's kind of a zone really today. So somewhere in here, basically, if we are going to find support, is more than likely where we're going to get it. This is where we broke. So these highs here, this is the move that broke them. So this is the gap that will support them if they're going to hold. If not, I reckon we'll do something like that. So if we do pull down today, and you do want to trade it, if we get down to these sorts of areas, I'd start longing it back up into mean. But look at the Asian range. Look at the London range. Bear in mind there's no liquidity in New York. Don't expect the New York range to do much more than that. So, as I say, it's going to be quite a tricky one this afternoon. So, I wouldn't bother. Unless you want to add positions, obviously, for tomorrow. In which case, obviously, as we're coming down, wait for some bullish price action and get in long. Right. So, yeah, not a lot of really trading I can do on this one today. I've got no positions I'm going to want to add onto any of these. The EA is running on it for me anyway. So it will be getting me into longs if we do get some decent pushes down, which I doubt today. So I'm just going to leave it there. I'm not going to be able to profit on these this afternoon. So Euro Swiss, I still haven't got any further. Just sitting there at the minute. So we just had a reversal alert on that one as well, on M5. Just down at these lows. But again, we'll be sitting there. So tomorrow morning, we will be pretty much in the same place as we are at the moment. So I think tomorrow we will obviously just have to analyse what happens in the Asian session and take it from there. So tomorrow morning, if you have got any yen pairs on, be aware. Tomorrow morning at some point, we've got the Bank of Japan outlook report and their monetary policy statement. Obviously, monetary policy statements tend to have a big impact on the market if they are not as expected. And the press conference, obviously, is where they drop clangers or hints as to what they're planning to do for monetary policy moving forward. So may well have some decent movement out of Asia on the yen pairs. Direction wise, obviously, is dependent on what happens in the press conference. And then again tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow morning, not really any other news. So Wednesday really is when we kick off this week. So tomorrow we'll be positioning because obviously there's not an awful lot happening today, and then we'll be waiting for movement on Wednesday. So yeah, I will carry on testing on my EA for the gaps, and I'll let you know on that. As I say, I'm using it really as a tool to try and find optimal settings for S&P for just basically scaling into S&P positions. So I'm planning on using that with the reversal alert EA to kind of put together a little automated system for S&P, ideally. But obviously, I will be watching and trading it, but just something that I can hopefully get into more positions with. Try and milk some more out of the S&P. Little bit of resistance down here at the moment to this push down. So there's a few buyers coming through. We'll see if that holds. Okay, so yeah, sorry about that. Not a lot I can go through this afternoon, as I say, because it's not really going to be an awful lot happening, but we were kind of expecting this anyway. So I'll be back tomorrow morning at 8:30 as usual, UK time. And hopefully we'll have some movement out of yen, and then we can do a bit more analysis from there as to setups for the rest of this week. And then tomorrow afternoon, we should get some decent movement on the indices because they've had a day off. So there will be a lot of money to be put in. And obviously tomorrow we've got Goldman Sachs as well, earnings. So we should have some decent movement in the S&P. So opportunities tomorrow afternoon, I think. Okay, so have a good afternoon off. Don't bother watching the charts if I was you. Otherwise, you're just going to bore yourself to tears. Go and do something else. And obviously just keep an eye on positions. Anything else you need, let me know. I will be in the Telegram group. If you like the stream, give it a thumbs up. Not a lot to like today. Obviously, nothing's happened. But anyway, so I'll be back tomorrow at 8:30. If you need anything, come in the Telegram group. I will be in there hanging around. Other than that, see you tomorrow morning, as usual, 8:30.